Today is a great day to be alive and be an artist. My name is Matt with the Hat, and today I am going to share with you some tips and tricks for running your auditions. This is the next episode in our directing series, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experiences with auditions. Now, most of this series has been geared toward the new director. And so later on, we'll talk about some different things that may work a little bit better for the more seasoned director. But I want to talk a little bit about auditions. So a typical audition for the theater, and I'm talking more about regular theater versus musical theater because there's differences, of course. But for regular theater, a very generic version of the audition is you do two contrasting monologues that are about a minute each. This is very general. There are different definitions and things like that. The actor starts with a slate, which is where they introduce themselves. They tell you a little bit, they tell you the name of the piece, the author, et cetera, and we go from there. Now, I want to say a few things about auditioning. The first one is, if you are a new director, it is absolutely 100% essential that you try to disarm the room as much as possible. What do I mean? Actors or people who are new to acting, it is a very insecure place when you first start to audition. You think, oh, this person hates me, oh, this, oh, that. And it's very easy to get in your head. And just like we talk about the cop in the head in our Artist's Way series, there is a cop in the head for every artist and every actor. And so it's really important, and this goes for directors of all levels of experience, is how do you disarm the audience, the actors? How do you make that place as safe as possible? Because every single actor that goes into that room, they're going there to be judged. And you're the one who is judging them. And so it's really important to make that environment fun. Now, one of the things that immediately sets apart an audition and creates separation between the director and the actors auditioning is the table. Some people call it the table of doom, where people have to have a table to write on, who are the judges, and it creates a separation between the actor and the creative team. So one of the things that I would just strongly recommend if you're working with younger actors, if you are working with newer actors, is in your room, start out with a game and start out with everyone being together in a circle. Create that environment of welcome. Create that environment of safety, because you're asking them to trust you to make sure that they look good, right? And so making sure that you can make them feel safe is really, really important. Because there are going to be times when insecurities are going to rule, both yours and theirs. And the more you can get off of that, the more that you can take that away and disarm those fears, the better your audition is going to be. So I highly recommend playing some games just to lighten the mood in the room. You can target these games. You can look up theater games for a million years and you can find all sorts of wonderful games to do. Now, when you get into the audition itself and they slate and they do their monologue, and I do think it is very important at a certain age level to go ahead and have those monologues, because it's going to tell you, did this person do the work, right? Did this person memorize? Did this person rehearse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you're not there, in my opinion, you're not there to just be the next person. You're not crossing the arms and judging them and belittling them through their audition. And this is very important because even seasoned professionals have bad auditions. Even the stars you see on your movie screens, all of that, they will tell you that not only have they had bad auditions, but they still have bad auditions. And so it's really important that you're an encourager in that audition. And if you're not seeing what you want, so they come up, they slate, they're a little bit nervous, they do their piece, maybe they even forget their lines, okay? I think it is really important to be their champion. Your creative team, again, this is all my opinion, but your creative team should be rooting for everyone to get the best role possible for themselves, right? And so they come into the room and they do this monologue. And let's say, just for giggles, right? Let's say that it's not great that first time. They've rehearsed it a certain way. Maybe it's a little melodramatic. Maybe they're overacting a little bit. Maybe they're underacting a little bit. There's a whole slew of things that they could do wrong. The thing that I think is very important is to then, after they have done their monologue, always give them a second chance. And this time, give them direction. First of all, this is really important because it shows, can they take direction? Now, sometimes I'll go wild and crazy and I'll say, you're a superhero trying to save the world. Or I'll say something really targeted as well, where I'm wanting to, maybe they overacted a little bit. And I say, all right, now I want you to imagine that the person you're talking to, and maybe that's me, and I want you to look me in the eyes when you do this. And I want you to imagine that the person you're talking to is someone who you love deeply. And you just found out that they're dying. And so the direction is you've got to smile as much as you can. And behind the eyes, you show your grief. And see, that's a targeted direction to bring out more subtlety, where we're expressing more with the eyes. And sometimes I always say that acting is more about the repression of emotion than the expression, because the more we repress the emotion, the more that emotion begins to express. But that repression is something very, very interesting. It's something cool to watch with your actors. And so bringing those targeted things, and I don't let them go fully through their monologue again when I do this. I may let them go just a couple sentences, and sometimes I'll let them go fully through, especially if they're just doing this amazing job and I've seen this complete transformation. And so I think that is really, really important to do. You may do one really, really broad and really fun. You may do one targeted. You may do multiple, right? But the key is that they feel like they are fully seen in that. And that gives you a chance to see them look in different ways than just what maybe other directors have always said, you're only an ingenue, or you're only a lead role type of actor. You can't do characters. Well, that kind of is very stifling to the actor, and maybe they're used to being only cast as father or authority figures, whatever it may be, right? And so it's really, really important to give them a chance to show you their flexibility and to see that you see them as more than just a type. Okay. And then I would say the next round is your callbacks. And in the callbacks, everything changes. You may have it down who you think is going to be the lead. You get into cold reads, and then suddenly it becomes a totally new ballgame. One of the things I want to say about cold reads is there are actors who are phenomenal, who are not the best readers. So again, how can you disarm that? Sometimes improvisation is a good tool. It's always good to state in those cold reads, say, hey, this is not a reading competition. What I'm here to see is I'm here to see how you play off of the other actors in how you relate. And sometimes there are multiple things that you can do. There are exercises where you can literally take the words out and make it more about the body language, or you can have, when I mentioned improvisation, have them improvise the best that they remember, so that you can see them reacting off each other generally, right? There are a bunch of different ways to do it, but I encourage in those cold reads to just give everyone a fair shot. It's also important to team people up with people that you may not think that they're going to be good with, because it's going to shock you that some people are going to surprise you and they're going to be put into a different place. And then the last thing, and I mentioned this a little bit, is stage chemistry, right? You want to make sure that they look right together, whatever right is for that show, right? And when I say for that show, I don't mean if we were talking about Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story, I don't mean that they look the way that everyone else looks who's played this role. What I'm saying is that they look right for your vision of that show, right? And again, when you cast that show, one of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of younger actors have is they think that the creative team is playing favorites when they're not. My experience has been that I have a panel of judges and it's almost always unanimous on who gets what role. Almost always. There are definitely exceptions. But I would just say, when you're doing that, when you're going through that, think of your options. Think of how you can be the person that, instead of being a blocker, and I think every director has been a blocker before. We talk about that in The Artist's Way. Everyone said the wrong thing to an actor before, that it's gotten them to go, I don't believe in myself. Rather than being a blocker, how can you be an encourager? How can you bring out the best? Because that is your goal. The more you can bring out of them, the more you're going to shine, but the more you're going to see your talent grow and see the opportunities for both you and your company grow. I hope that this video helped you learn how to have some different ways to audition. If you have any questions, please mention it in the comments. I am loving talking to you about this. Let's discuss it and all that jazz. Thank you so much. You are amazing. Keep on doing art.